Good afternoon, Fantasy Bay. Mike Williams here, and let's get into the waiver wire. Now, this waiver wire is not like it is in other weeks. In other weeks, somebody normally goes down, or somebody gets a big opportunity, and we see some chances for an uptick. This week's not that week. We don't really have damn near much of anything on the waiver wire, to be honest with you. But I'm gonna help you find some buried treasure. I got you. Don't worry. Fantasy Bay here to help save the day. So the teams we have on bye this week are the Bills, the Bears, Raiders, and Colts. So if you have any of those players, get them out of your lineup. And if you have them in there, that's a problem. Like I said earlier, though, this is not a good waiver week. And there are a couple of different ways to do waivers. If you are in a league where you have a waiver priority, such as if you have number one waiver this week and you don't use it, you have it again next week. I'm not thinking I'm using any of my top priorities personally on anybody this week. I just think it'd be a waste excluding one or two. And that's on certain circumstances that I'll get into later. But be a gambler like me and just don't even pick up anybody on the waivers and then just check it tomorrow. I'll give you a couple hints on that at the end. All right, so let's get started with the quarterbacks. Let's go with Gardner Minshew. I heard somebody say today, the man that Baker Mayfield wishes he was. I mean, it's cool. So he had 27 points last week, 374 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 rushes for 42 yards. Love that. He's going against the Saints this week. I think that should be a pretty good matchup. I think the Saints can score, and I think that the Jags will try to keep up. All right, let's go to Kirk Cousins at number 2. I like Kirk Cousins when he throws the damn ball, but I guess wide receiver Adam Thielen has to complain on national television for somebody who make a difference. Now, I'm happy that got Thielen some love, but where's my Diggs love? I feel like they fined my man $200,000, and now they're giving him barely any catches, but it's fine. Kirk Cousins in general, I believe, should be better if they keep with this plan. I don't think that they're going to ever go back to the high-flying offense they were last year, but a nice balance between throwing and running would be nice. I think that would actually help the offense move and not just, okay, they're going to run it again. Also, they faced the Eagles, and the Eagles secondary just got torched. So I think that should be a good matchup. I also like Matthew Stafford, who's coming back off of a bye. I think he's going to play well. Hopefully the injury's healed up. Last week he played really well. Or not last week, the week before last, before he was on a bye. So I think the bye week will be good to heal him up. And he's going against Green Bay. That should be a good matchup. And I see some points scored on that one. Last but not least, on the quarterback front, Jimmy GQ. I don't know about you, but the 49ers look great. I was genuinely surprised that they came out and gave such a great performance. And if that running game stays like that, it'll add to the play actions, and I think a lot of plays downfield. Marcus Goodwin is a very, very fast wide receiver, and I'd watch out for him. All right, so now I'm going to get into wide receivers, but I want to tell you some people that are probably owned that you really should still check out for. Like, for example, the number one wide receiver from last week, Will Fuller. If you were paying attention to any of the stuff I've been posting out, I've been telling you, Will Fuller is the man, and you needed to play him last week. So if you've been watching and you played him, nice. And if you're like me and you played him and you still lost and scored 183 points, sorry for your loss, but happens to the best of us. Dropped 183 points this week, still lost. But y'all aren't here for my fantasy woes. Y'all are here for me to help you in fantasy. So I'm going to step off my soapbox and get back to this. All right, so another person that's probably on the waiver wire that's a wide receiver, Robbie Anderson. I think with Sam Darnold coming back, I believe Robbie Anderson should have an uptick in not only targets, but in accurate passes down the field and shouldn't just be dump offs to Le'Veon Bell. All right, so next we're going to go to Mo Sanu, or as his mama calls him, Muhammad Sanu. He's actually been playing surprisingly well to a lot of people. I think that he's normally pretty consistent. He's going to be somebody that's going to get you about 10 to 12 points. This year he's averaging 12 points. And that's just how it's going to be. He's a good number 3, and sometimes he's a number 2, depending on the week. Matt Ryan has been playing great. He's been slinging it, throwing for 300 plus yards a game. He's had 3 touchdowns in 3 of his games, 2 touchdowns in 1 of his games, and he gave a big gooser in another one. But overall in the year, he's had 11 touchdowns. That's tied for second behind only Russell Wilson. So I'm loving the offense. The defense is trash, so they're going to have to throw the ball. So I think fire up some Mo Sanu this week. He had 5 receptions last week, 42 yards, and a receiving touchdown. Love it. Also, he's catching a lot of his balls. 81% catch rate. That's amazing. Love that. All right, so start up your Mo Sanu if you need a wide receiver. Also, Auden Tate, I told y'all to pick him up last week as a flyer. I'm not saying that he's the next AJ Green or anything, but I mean, he did score a touchdown. I think that he's going to be one of the few people that Andy Dalton can go to. It's going to be him and Tyler Boyd and Tyler Eifert if he figures out how to catch a ball. All right, Jamison Crowder. So Jamison Crowder came out and went gangbusters this year. When Sam Darnold was in, Jamison Crowder, week 1, had 14 receptions for 99 yards. That's amazing. And then Sam Darnold goes out and he goes back to being nothing. So ipso facto, I think Sam Darnold being back, Jamison Crowder is at least worth an ad so you can see whether or not he's going to do anything. Brian Pringle. So here's my thing on Brian Pringle. If Sammy Watkins is out, Tyreek Hill is out, then I think he's a flyer. I think that he'll be just as likely to score a touchdown as the other 2 roulettes you have in that offense. So if you're willing to spin the dice, I mean, there's worse players to play than somebody on a Patrick Mahomes team. That being said, the injury to Patrick Mahomes, I'm slightly worried. Not really worried. Like, I haven't heard anything bad or anything, but you have a 300-pound man come on your back, come on your foot like that. Like, that's not good for your ankles. It's not good for your ankles. All right, let's go to Darius Slayton. Now, I know. The Giants are going against the Patriots. You don't want to start anybody with, I know. I don't really want to either, but man, the injuries are really starting to pile up for the Giants. I feel like they're like the new Chargers. Got Sterling Shepard, who just got injured. Evan Ingram, injured. We got Golden Tate, who just got back into the lineup. Wayne Gallman, injured. Saquon Barkley is possibly going to play, but probably not. Why throw him in against the Patriots? You're going to get slaughtered regardless if he's in there or not, so why rush him back? But somebody has to catch the ball. At some point, someone will get some yards, and, I mean, he had 4 receptions for 62 yards and a touchdown, so maybe he gets a little something. I think he's a good flyer. Also, people to keep on the radar, we got DK Metcalf, D.D. Westbrook, Josh Reynolds, with Brandon Cooks possibly being out, I think Josh Reynolds would possibly step up, or tight end I'll talk about later. And this one's really gross. Devontae Parker, I'm not a fan of playing anybody on Miami, but you got to do what you got to do. And if you're in a bind, pick them up. Now, mind you, I'm not saying use your waiver priority on the flyers that I just mentioned. But if you really need somebody, grab them. All right, so next we're going to go to running backs. So we have number 1 on my running backs list. I don't know if you know that David Johnson got a little dinged up. He had a back injury. I'm hearing that it's nothing to sneeze at. They don't know if he's going to be out yet, but the fact that they don't know is a question mark that I'm not too pleased with. So Chase Edmonds, I think, is a great substitute and great add for David Johnson. Last week, he had 3 receptions for 18 yards. He also had 8 attempts for 68 yards and a touchdown. You love that. If David Johnson's out, I think he's going to be a great play. If you have David Johnson, I think he's a must add. If you don't have David Johnson, I still think he's a decent add just in case Johnson's out. Let's go next to Adrian Peterson, AP, Hall of Famer. Pretty much useless for the most part this year, but the head coach just got fired, and they're playing the Dolphins. If you are ever going to play Adrian Peterson, it's going to be this week against the Dolphins. They're basically trying to see who can lose the most games, and the Dolphins are going to let AP just run all over them. And that is all AP wants to do. AP don't care about no future of the Redskins. He just wants to get his yards. So, love that. Next, we have Ito Smith. I think that Ito Smith is a okay running back behind a bad offensive line that's sharing work with Devonta Freeman. But from time to time, he has a decent game. He's got 6 receptions last week, 45 yards, 5 rushing attempts for 19 yards. That's meh. It's all right. I think he's a good handcuff. And I think if he keeps getting receptions in the passing game, then he might be a flyer flex play. Rex Burkhead might be back active again this week against Miami. And if the Patriots are blowing out Miami, they may use him a little bit. So I got him on there. A reminder, because this video is a little long, don't just waste your waiver priority if you don't have to. All right, I just had to say that again. Check your waiver wire for this player, Tevin Coleman. A lot of people dropped him because he was going to be injured for a few weeks. They really needed that waiver spot, or they really needed that roster spot. So check to see if he's out there. Also, a couple handcuffs that I would grab after the waivers have run. Alexander Madison, Tony Pollard, Ty Montgomery, Malcolm Brown. These are players that, in my opinion, you should have on your roster just in case something happens. Now, at the beginning of the year, I'm not huge into holding on to handcuffs. I don't believe the handcuffs need to be held all year, but we're about halfway into the year, so, grab a couple handcuffs. You never know. See, the thing about handcuffs are, if you pick up somebody that's a flyer, like a wide receiver that could or could not be something, yeah, he may be a little something, but odds are you're probably never going to use him. He's going to sit on your bench. But the thing about a handcuff is if the starter goes down, you now have a top 10 player, like a top 10 running back, and that's invaluable. So watch out for the handcuffs. I wouldn't use my waiver priority on them, but I would check them out, see if I can get them. All right. Tight ends. For anybody who watched my previews last week, you'll know that Gerald Everett was on my list for tight ends that you needed to add. My man came out, didn't let me down. 7 receptions, 136 yards, 20 PPR points. That's what I'm talking about. Sean McVay, he was Sean McVay's first draft pick. In the last 2 weeks, he's had 19 targets in 2 weeks. And if Brandon Cooks is down, oh my goodness, this man is about to get some targets. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, 6'3", 240. That's what I'm talking about. And he's a safety valve to Goff, who looks like a deer in headlights sometimes. Chris Herndon, he's coming back. He's been suspended. We have Ryan Griffin that was on the other tight end for the Jets. He was on the field for 93% of the time, or 93% of the snaps. I think that should go to Chris Herndon. And if Gase knows what the hell he's doing, he'll get him in. But he hasn't proven that he's known anything, so it's kind of up in the air. Jimmy Graham, everybody knows who Jimmy Graham is and what he is at this point. He's touchdown dependent, and if Devontae Adams comes back, his upside goes down substantially. Let's go to next. watch out for this guy on the waiver wire. Hunter Henry was dropped in a lot of leagues because he was injured. I believe he's going to come back soon, and if he does, I think he'll be a top 10 tight end moving forward. All right, let's go down to defenses. All right, so this week I got a couple defenses that you should grab. We got the Ravens against the Bengals. That's a great matchup. We got the Cowboys against the Jets. Love that. Jets, even with Sam Darnold, I still think that's good. Carolina against my Bucks. Carolina's defense is good, and they get a bunch of sacks. And one thing that Jameis does give up is a bunch of sacks. So I think that'll be a good matchup. And the Washington Redskins against the Dolphins, if you feel like getting that low. I don't know if I will, but if you are in a desperate situation, anybody versus the Dolphins is a decent play. All right. Now, if you are the type of person that likes to not only look ahead to this week, but look to next week, a defense that I recommend, the Bills. The Bills are versus Miami, and they're going to destroy them. I don't know if you know this, but last week, the Bills played the Patriots, and they kept them down to 16 points. They kept the Super Bowl champion New England Patriots to 16 points. They're going against Miami next week. If you have a roster spot that's open, they're a must-add. All right, and okay, I did say I'd give you some advice if you stay till the end. All right, so now here, come behind the curtain. Come behind the curtain. I need to show you and educate you on a few things. Number one, if I don't have to have a player on my waiver wires, I'm not picking them up. I'm not using my waiver priority. It's a waste. So don't even do it. If you're in a league where you have to put in a bid, put in a zero bid. A bid for $0 on a player, and if nobody grabs them, you'll get them for free. Now, a vet move for people that are playing in waivers that open up after like 4 a.m., like ESPN, set an alarm for 4 p.m. or 4 a.m. Wake up in the morning, check to see who's been left off on the waiver wire, and just snag all those players up at 4 or 5 in the morning. I do it every week. I have an alarm set every week for 4 or 5 a.m., and I'll go in and I'll just grab people. You will be surprised the people that people don't want to use their waiver on but are still available. And while everybody's snoozing and getting their nice sleep in, I'm up there scavenging, digging for gold, digging for buried treasure, like a true Buccaneer. Do I have any other good advice that I can give you? I think that's going to about wrap it up. Now, if anybody has any questions, they're more than welcome to hit me up on any form of social media, Facebook, Twitter. I'm about to get an Instagram. Just let me know if you have any questions or if you need to just bounce any ideas off of me. All right. Well, I'll see you later, Fantasy Bay. You have a nice day. Good luck.